Now let's see how to pass a parameter from one view to another. Let's say that we want to pass the ID of the selected transaction to the add transaction view model. So while we are navigating using the navigation service, so we push async our add transaction view model, and we have an option to pass parameters. So this is fairly simple to do in Shell, especially if you are using this navigation service. You just type your parameter. So let's say we have ID and then the actual value. If we have to pass multiple parameters, we separate them with ampersand. So similar to what we have on web, where we are entering some URL, we are separating parameters with ampersand. Let's say if I want to pass some kind of name, I can do that as well. Okay, I will just revert this to push async add transaction view model. What happens in the background of the navigation service is that we are constructing the whole route. So we are taking the route name, and then after route, like I said, similar to web URLs. So we are adding question mark, and after that we are adding our parameters. Now on the receiving side of the navigation, in our add transaction view, we need to specify the binding context. So let's say app.container.resolve using autofuck. Let's resolve add transaction view model. In order to receive the ID we get from the transaction view model, what we can do is to add query property, and let's say that we want to store in the ID property the ID parameter. So what we need is defined a property called ID, and in the setter we would get the actual value of the passed ID. So what we can do is have a backing field named ID and say that based on the URI we get, we want to an escape data string that is this value. So the ID value will be stored to the ID property. Also in Xamarin Forms shell, we can, instead of having this query property in the view, if we are using MVVM, it's much more useful to have this in the view model, that is in the add transaction view model. Luckily for us, this query property will also working with the binding context of this view. So in our case, this would also work with the add transaction view model. So instead of having this attribute and property in the view, what we can do is to pass that to the view model and also add this property to the view model. Let's just confirm that this works. So I will put the breakpoint here and run the app. And if we select any transaction, we should get the value 1, which is the case.